Class, previously we have started with this CRUD application, and we have completed this particular constructor and two methods on create, on upgrade into our class database handler. Now today we will go ahead and we will prepare few other functions which are needed. So I'll go and I'll say public, let's say void. We want to store a contact that we have prepared. Now take an example. If this is my add contact method, then what it requires, you are supposed to pass a contact into that. So I'll be saying contact like this, and we have to import the particular class as well. Now if you observe, this is your contact.java, where you have prepared this class contact, which is having an ID, which is having a name, which is having a phone number, and there are some getter setter methods according to that. So within your this database handler.java, this particular class will work to add your contacts, to remove your contacts, and to other stuff. So if I want to add a new contact, I'm supposed to pass this. I'm supposed to pass a contact into that as a parameter. Now in this add contact method, what we will do? First of all, we should be having our database, then only we will be able to store. So I'll say SQLite database, and take an example, we are giving name like this DB, then I'll say this dot get. Now, if you observe, the moment I say get, it is providing me two options, get readable and get writable. So I'll choose this get writable, which means the moment I say add contact, this method is called, you will be getting your database available with you, which is in the format of writable. So you will be able to write data into your database. If you are using get readable over here, then you will be able to read data from it. Now we are having our database available with us. Next thing, I say db dot insert. Now when I go for this db dot insert, you may observe that it requires table, it requires the null column hat, and it requires the content values. Now first is the table in which we want to store anything. Now second parameter is null column hat. Now what will happen that whenever we want to store anything in our SQL table, it cannot be empty. We cannot store a whole new empty row into that. So we have to specify null here. And second, the third thing is content value. So I have to prepare content value in which there will be key and the value pair which will be stored over. So this is my db.insert. So what I'll doing is, first of all, I'll go and I'll prepare my content values. Take an example, we are giving the name content values itself. Then I say that I'm having new content value. So we have prepared an object for this. After doing this, in this content values dot put. Now if you observe, in put method, it says that there has to be a string key and then we have to specify value. So I'm using this put. Now into this put, as the first thing is what? It is my string key. So I'll be saying utility dot key name. If you observe, we have three things in my utility. We have prepared this key ID, key name, and the key phone number, but we will not use this ID. Why? If you observe in your database handler, when you create your table, you have specified that your key ID is integer and primary key. So it will be auto incremented. It will be managed by your SQLite. You are not supposed to provide anything for that. So when we go for this add contact, we simply say content values dot put utility key name. So we will be giving username and we'll be giving their phone number. We will skip this ID. So first parameter is my key name, and then now next thing is what? I have to pass the value. So I have to pass name of the user. So I'll say contact dot get name. So contact is what? This is the object that we have prepared against this. Now in this contact, we are passing this get name. So if I go and check this contact.java, let me show you this again. If I go into this, we have this model, and into our model, we have this contact.java. So what is the function of this contact.java? This is working as my model. So in a contact, ID, name, and the phone number, these three values which we want to store or retrieve, we have getter and setter methods for that. So right now in this database handler, the moment I want to have name of the users, I'm not supposed to pass any hard coded value, but what I will be doing is into this contact.java, this method get name. If I require user's phone number, then I'll be having this particular method get phone number. So this model contact.java will do everything for me. So within this content value, first we have specified name. Now I'll go and I'll specify one more thing, utility dot phone number. And what I am supposed to do is I'll go to my contact and I'll say get phone number. So this is the reason that in your add contact method over here, you are actually passing one contact. So what you have to do is you will be having one contact that you have prepared through this particular view and this controller. So I'll be preparing a object in my view and the controller. And to do that, I'll be using this, any of this empty or this constructor. I'll be having this getter set the methods, and I'll be preparing a contact, and that contact will be passed into this database handler. And in this database handler, you are having this method add contact, where that contact is passed. You open the database in writable format, you prepare your content value, and in your content value, you are having this put method. And in this put method, you are storing name and the phone number. But to provide value, you doesn't go for hard coded anything. You will be using your model. Okay. Now this may seems bit similar to this get shared preferences that we have used. Now into shared preferences, you are having the same kind of thing, key and value pay, but this is the content value, which you can consider that you are having a temporary array kind of thing. So your key value will be stored over here, and later on this content value will be passed into your insert method. After preparing our content values, I'll simply go to this insert method and I'll say utility dot table name. Okay. Now next thing is what the null column. As per our discussion, we do not want to store any row fully empty. So I'll be passing null. And the last thing is I'll be saying content values. So what will happen? Open the database, prepare your content value, db.insert, specify your table name, provide the values, task over. Now generally, after having this kind of thing, we close our database. So once you insert, later on you close your database. So to avoid any memory leak or for security reasons, you are closing your database. After doing this, we will go and let's say I'll say get contact. Now based on our discussion, what I said that this will be our CRUD application. So within your CRUD application, you will be performing different kind of operations, which will be like using SQL, you will be able to store, you will be able to manipulate, you will be able to retrieve, or even you will be able to delete your data. So right now our data is what? Our contacts. So this particular method that you observe, add contact. What is the purpose of this? Store the contact into your SQLite. So this is our C. Out of this CRUD, this is the C. Now we have to retrieve our data. So we'll be having this get contact method. But if I say get contact, which one? In your table, there is a possibility that you are having multiple contacts. So I have to pass something unique. I have to specify that I require the contact number 1. I require the contact number 23. I require the contact number 1003 or whatever. So I'll be passing the integer ID of that particular contact. So what will happen? That whenever you want to retrieve your data from the contacts, you will be saying that you require this contact for Mr. So-and-so whose ID is number 1. But the situation will be what? If I'm returning something, then what? Okay, we will actually say contact public over here into this add contact method. You said void because you are giving a contact in SQLite, it has been stored. But if you invoke get contact method, then what will happen? You provide an ID that I require the contact detail of person number 1. Okay, so it will return you the whole contact object. So it will be like public contact get contact, and into that it will be ID that is integer. Now if I want to store, if I want to retrieve, if I want to delete, whatever sort of task that you want to do, now into this get contact or add contact, delete contact, the first thing that you require is your SQLite. If you observe into this add contact, what we have did is SQLite DB and get writable. But when I say get contact, it has to be into readable. So I'll again say SQLite DB equals to this dot get readable database. So I'm having my database available to me in the readable format. Within your add contact, after you have your database, you prepare content value, then you insert. But in your get contact, the situation will be a bit different. You open your database in readable format, and later on, you have to get the details from your SQL. You have to fire a query. Select star from table something, something, something. So what I will be doing is I'll go and I'll say cursor. I specify the name cursor itself. Let us import this one, cursor, and then I'll say db dot query. Now you may observe that it says so many things. There are so many parameters which we are supposed to pass. So first thing, I have written cursor db query. So what is this cursor? So if you remember, when we started with this, we have gone for a few of this theory concept, and at that time we have discussed that cursor is your public interface. Cursor is your public interface. It provides you random read-write access to the result set which has been written by your database query, which means the moment you say db.query, so this particular is what you are firing and select query over here. So when you go for this SQL query, you will get a result set. Now result set is available to me, but I have to read, write, I have to manipulate that particular data. So how can I access? So the moment you say db.query, you will be getting a single or multiple. So there is a possibility that you are having a record or record set. So whatever you have, now you want to access it. So this cursor is the interface which provides you the function, it provides you the facility that how you can interact with your result set which has been written by the user. Okay, now let us see that what it says db.query. So first thing, it says string table. So first parameter is table name. So I'll go and I'll say table name. Okay, done. Now next thing, it says string columns. So I have to actually pass string big bracket. So it is saying the column array, string array. So string parent big bracket columns. I'm supposed to pass a whole new string array as a parameter. So I'll be saying new string, and into this, what I require, I have to specify all the offsets. Actually, what you will be saying is you will be saying like, okay, now here you observe that we have specified the table name, that I'm going through a query. I specify from which table I want to retrieve the data. Now in this parameter, I specify the column names, that which particular column I want to retrieve. So I'll go and I'll say key, I have to specify utility dot key. Now what I require ID, I require name of the user, I require the phone number. So I'll say first of all, there will be the key ID. Next column, I'll be specifying utility dot key, name of the user, and third parameter is utility dot key phone number. So you may observe that in this new string array, you have specified three things: ID, name, and the phone number, which means this is the string array in which you have specified all three. So it is like select star from table name. Okay. If you don't want to retrieve all the column, then do not specify all the column names. You have to just specify the field names which you want to retrieve from your table. So first parameter table name, second parameter is the string array, that will be the column names. Now third, now when you go for this third, it specifies the conditions. Okay, so what I want to do, we have specified this many things. So I'll say that my condition will be like utility dot key ID. I have to compare this. If I am saying that get contact, and what we've discussed, that we will be retrieving the contact which has been passed, whose ID is passed over here. So I'm saying utility key ID. Next, we have to concatenate, because we are specifying, kind of a condition, a selection, that utility key ID, which is equals to this. Okay. Now next, this is my selection. Now I have to pass, if you observe, string table, just go through this tooltip. The first thing is string table, then string array of column, then string selection. So we have already specified the selection. My selection is key ID. Now the next thing is I have to specify string array. That is my selection argument. So I'm specifying utility.keyid, but where it should go and match. This utility.keyid is what? That is the field name which is available in my table. But with which value it should be get compared. So I have to again, specify new string array. Let me take this to the new line, new string array, and I'll say ID. Now this ID is what? This is something that we are passing over here. But the issue is what? It cannot be passed because here it is integer and you are passing ID into a string array. So what I have to do is I have to wrap into this. So what will happen? You will be passing ID as an integer. That ID will be passed as a string array. Okay. After doing this, next. Now it says group by. Just observe this tooltip. You specify table name. You specified the columns which you want to extract. You specified your selection criteria. You specified your selection argument. And now it says that you want to group by. No, I don't want to group by my records. It says having this particular keyword. No, it says order by. So generally you go ahead and you specify everything in a SQL query that, okay, this is the select star from table and this is the order which I require. I want to group by records in this particular, but I don't want to do anything. I simply provide them a single integer ID and according to that I require a record. That's it. So what will happen? This db.query, this is my method, and into this method we have passed this many parameters. Now this is actually a query. हेलो
सर मेरा डाउट ये था कि जो जैसे हमको जो रिक्वायर्ड नहीं है वो हमें सर वो हमें स्पेसिफाई करना जरूरी है, मतलब अगर नहीं करेंगे तो चलेगा ना?
which one?
सर अभी जो आपने ये बताया लास्ट में ग्रुप बाय, हैविंग एंड ऑर्डर बाय, अगर हम इनको नहीं स्पेसिफाई करें तो ये वर्क करेगा ना?
I have removed everything. Just observe. Into this db.query, we have specified table name, we have specified our column names, we have specified selection, we have specified our selection argument, but we haven't specified few other things. Now it says
Yes,
that there is something issue. So the moment you say comma, it says that you are supposed to specify group by. I don't want to group by, so I'll say null. Later on, they say having. I do not have any keyword. I do not have any order which I require, so I specify null into that. Now if I see, there is no red color kind of underline that is available. So actually what will happen, if you don't want to group by, if you don't want to have any kind of order, that is okay, but you are supposed to specify null over there. Okay.
okay sir.
Okay. Now the moment you have this particular query, what will happen? You are having this cursor. So as per our discussion, cursor is your interface which provides you random read-write access to the result set which has been written by database query. So query done. Now this cursor is something that we will be using later on. So I'll go and now I'll say if cursor is not null. If my cursor is not null, then I'll say cursor dot move to the first record. Now the moment you fire this query, there is a possibility that you are getting a single record. So you will go to the move to first. And if you are firing this query and you are getting multiple, then there will be move to first, move to next, move to last. So a set of record that is written by your database. So the moment you say cursor, move to first. So the first record that you are having in your record set, that will be available with you. The moment you say move to next, it will shift from record number 1 to record number 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and so on. If you want to directly get your last record, then you will say move to last. So I am saying that if my cursor is not null, then move to first record. And definitely in this particular situation, I'll be getting single record. Why? Because in get context, you are passing integer ID. And this ID is what? It is getting compared to this utility.keyid, which means to with it is compared with your primary key. And definitely your primary key is unique. So whatever ID that you are passing over here, what will happen? There is a possibility that this record will be empty, it will be null, or it will be giving you the single record. So I'm checking if cursor is not null, then move to first. Now Take an example, my cursor is not empty. Okay, I am having the record which is coming from the database. So what I have to do, whatever record that I am getting from the user, I have to store somewhere else. I have to display it. But this get contact is actually returning me a contact. So whatever key name, whatever key phone number, and whatever key ID that you are getting from your SQL, it has to be stored in a contact. So I'll say contact, and let us provide a name, new contact. So you have prepared a new contact, and whatever information you do have, you store into that. You just observe in your add contact, you store value into content value, and then you store in your SQLite. In your get contact, you are supposed to fire this DB query method, and whatever information that you are having in your cursor, now cursor will be giving you the access to that record set. But whatever record I am getting through this cursor, where I need to print, actually I'm not supposed to print anything. You may observe that get contact is what? It is having the return type of contact. So whatever I am getting from my database query, it has to be stored into a contact. So you say contact, contact, new. Now within this, I'll say contact dot set ID. Check your model. Now within this contact, okay class, just observe that I have specified contact, new contact. So this is what you are not passing anything. So actually in this contact.java, you are having two, empty, and second is a constructor with arguments. You are having two constructors. First constructor doesn't expect any kind of parameter. In the second constructor, you are supposed to pass three parameters. So in this database handler, I am having first one, a constructor without passing any argument. So this method has been called. Now I want to set ID, I want to set name, and I want to set phone number. Why? Because in your DB query, this second parameter, this is what? This is the column names that you have specified. So from your database table, this many values will be fetched. And if those many values have been fetched, we have to store somewhere else. So within your contact, you will say set ID. Now into this, I'll go and I'll say cursor dot get string. So cursor is giving you the freedom to access your data from this data set written by SQLite. So if I want to retrieve key name, if I want to retrieve phone number, or if I want to retrieve the ID, it has to be through your cursor. So you say cursor dot get string, and what I require is ID. That will be my first value. So I'll say column index 0. But there is an issue. It says wrap using integer pass. Why? Because you are specifying contact.setID. So if I go and check this contact.java, in set ID, you are supposed to pass integer parameter because you are setting the ID, and ID is something that you specified integer. But over here, you are saying cursor.get string. So that is a data type mismatch. So in a simpler way, go ahead and say wrap using integer ID. So you say cursor.get string column index 0. So the moment you say DB query, you will be getting one record. That one record will be having three columns: column 0, column 1, column 2. Column 0 will be your ID. Column 0 will be ID. Column number 1 will be key name, and column number 2 will be key phone number. So this particular information we are fetching and we are giving to our contact object along with this method set ID. So this value will be stored. Now next thing, go ahead and say contact.set name. So what we will be doing is I'll go and say I require the name of the user which has been retrieved from my database. So I'll ask my cursor to provide me that. So I'll say cursor dot get string, and ID, that is my column number 0, and name is column number 1. Task over. Now what will happen? Set name says that you require a string, and cursor dot get string column index 1. So 1, that is the key name of the user. So there will be no mismatch. Contact dot set phone number of the user. Again, I'll go and say cursor, please provide me third value. So I'll say index number 2, but phone number. So if you go and check set phone number, it's a set phone number, it is integer. And again, over here you specify the string. So we are not supposed to do anything. Simply say integer dot pass. So you prepare a contact object, and from your model, from this contact.java, all these getter and setter methods that you do have, now everything is code over here. So you say set ID, you say set name, you say set phone number, and whatever information that you have fetched from your database, now it has been stored in your contact object. And now this object is something that you can return. So after doing this, here I'll say return contact. Okay, easy. So add contact, get contact, and into your get contact you are having a query in which you have specified a bunch of parameters. Later you check that whatever query you fire, which is accessed through this cursor object should not be empty. If it is not empty, then you will say cursor dot move to first. This interface, cursor is what? This is the interface which provides random read-write access to the result set written by your database query. So here you will be having the result set. Cursor will be what? It will be a result set because it doesn't know that what you are expecting. In this particular scenario, you are fetching data using a primary key. So definitely you will be getting single record. Okay. So if I'm getting single record, then it will not be null. So I'll simply say move to first. Take an example. If I'm having multiple records, then there is one more method which is known as move to next. And there is one more method which is known as move to last. So you tell your cursor that if you are not null, then move to first. So whatever record set that you received, you will go to record number 1. And now from that record number 1, cursor has shifted to this move to first. So you say cursor dot get string, cursor dot get string, cursor dot get string. And in this get string parameter, you are simply supposed to pass 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So these are the column index. As of now, we are having this. If we check and see this utility.java, we are having a table context. And into context, we are having this ID, name, and phone number. So this table is having only 3 field, which means 0, 1, and 2 index will be there. If I do not want to access ID, then index number 0 will never get access. If I directly want to access the column number 99, then I have to specify 98 into getString method. So it is kind of your array. You may understand that the moment you say cursor will be having all the columns that you do have in your table. Okay, so every column will be having some of the name, but generally we do not specify the column name, but we provide their index. So you are supposed to remember that in your table key ID 0, key name 1, and key phone number that is 2. So if I add one more thing over here, public static, if I say public static final string key city, then it will be my 4th column in my table. And if I want to retrieve that, then here I have to specify column index 3. Okay, now this is my get contact, but I want to do something else. Who says that I want to retrieve a single contact? Take an example. You are having this contact manager application. So you want to add a contact, you want to retrieve a single contact, or you may want to retrieve all contacts. There is a possibility. Okay. So if I want to retrieve all contacts, then what? We have to prepare a separate function. Why? Because this particular method get contact will give you a single contact whose ID is matching with this key ID, that is your primary key. So single record will be available to you, but in this method you will be getting a list. But this is a list. So what kind of list you are supposed to return? So we will be specifying the data type, that is the contact. So I say that I require a list. So this get all contact, the moment you call this method get all contacts, it will return you something. What? It will return you the list. List of what? List of contact. Now I'll go into this method. I say that I require a new list whose type is contact. And what I want to do is I want to give it a name, contact list equals to new array list. So we have prepared a new list with the name of contact list. So what we want to do is the moment you call get all contacts, it will provide you the contact list to the application back. Now what we will be doing is I'll go to a string. I'll say select all, and then we have to write down a query. So we will be saying select star from. Okay, select star from table name. Now select star from, that is a hard coded value. So we have to specify like this, and table name. So utility dot table name. So it is like you are preparing a string, select all. This is the same way you have you did over here. Select drop table, select create table. So actually you are creating a string which will be later on used to fire a query. So you are saying a string variable select all, and you specified select star from table name. Now, after doing this, we have to first of all understand that, okay, definitely you are saying that select all from something, but which table? If you observe, you have specified the database, add contact. So you say SQLite database DB and you get into writable format. When you go for get contact, you specify SQLite DB get readable database. Now we are having this get all contact. So we have to go and we will say that I require my database DB equals to what? So I'll say this dot get readable. So if you want to go for add contact method, then definitely it has to be open. Your SQL database has to be open into writable format. But if you are saying get contact or get all contact, your database will get open into readable format. So now we have our contact list. Now we have our database. We have our SQL query. Now the last thing that I require is fire it. But again, if I fire a query, then what will happen? Nothing. We have to fire any query, and then we will be having our cursor to interact with our database. So whatever result set that has been written by our database, that will be going into this cursor. But here we are having a single record set. In this particular scenario, we'll be having multiple. That's not an issue for us. We will be able to do that. So I'll say cursor, and into this cursor, I'll say db dot. Now there will be a change. I'll say row query. Now you observe that when we are having this kind of scenario where you are passing the number of parameters, you specify db.query, but when you are having select star from something like that, you do not have any arguments, you specify db row query, and into this db row query, I'll say select all. Next, it says the selection argument, but this time I do not have any argument. I do not want to filter out my data. What I want to do is that fire this select query and get me all the records which I do have. So it will be like select star from table name. We do not have any selection argument. So we have our cursor. Okay. Now we go and check. So if I say cursor dot move to first, if my cursor is able to move to the first record, then this is my if. If my cursor is able to retrieve the first record, then we want to do something. So what we exactly want to do over here, this particular cursor will be getting all the records, because we are having get all contact and we have specified select star. Star means each and every contact that you have in this table will be available in your cursor. So first of all, I have shifted my cursor to the first position, then next, then next. You consider that these are the three contacts. So your cursor, when you say move to first, move to next, next, move to next, next, move to next, next, move to last, this. So actually this cursor will provide you a facility so you can, traverse your records one by one. So right now I am saying cursor dot move to first, and into this, what I will be doing is do I'm having a do while loop, and into this while I'll say cursor dot move to next. As I said, we have move to last, move to first, move to next. If cursor is moved to the first, which means you have either single or multiple records. So this if will get satisfied. Now I exactly don't know that how many records this cursor is holding. Okay, whether it is a record or a record set, I don't know. So what we will do is we will have a loop to iterate through. Now into this do while, I have specified cursor dot move to next. If your cursor is able to move to the next record, then this do while loop will have iteration. Now what we want to do, so contact equals to new contact. So if you observe, if your cursor is not null, then you are preparing a new contact, you are storing the value and you are returning. This is about your get contact method. But in this scenario, when you say get all contact, there is a possibility that you have multiple records. So what we have to do is we have to store multiple data into multiple contexts. So I have to prepare multiple contexts. That is the reason it has been put into do. So if I'm having single iteration, I'll be having single object. If I am having 20 iteration, there will be 20 contact objects which will be prepared, and every contact will be having some value which will be stored into that. So just copy this test. So what will happen if cursor has moved to the first, iterate this loop until you are able to shift to the next record. If you are having your first record, then create a contact object, set ID, set name, set phone number. Cursor dot move to next. Yes, there will be one more iteration. You will prepare a new contact, set ID, set name, set phone number. Cursor dot move to next. Yes, you are able to move to the next. Again, there will be one more loop, one more loop, one more loop. If you are not able to shift to the next record, which means your data is over, your result said that you are stored into this cursor, that is over. So this do while loop is over, and your contact objects are prepared. There will be a multiple contact object that you have prepared, and every contact object will be having ID, name, and phone number into that. That is coming from your SQLite. Okay, so this is my do while loop, which will be storing ID, name, and phone number in my contact object. But there is an issue. This is the contact object, so there will be multiple contact object that you have prepared, but you are having a list, one array list that you have prepared. That is something that you are supposed to return, because this is your method get all contact, where you have specified the return type as a list of the contacts. So you are supposed to pass that, and we haven't provided anything such. We have specified the return type, and we have did this contact list. So what we can do, contact list dot add contact. So the moment you prepare a contact into your do while loop, you store values into that, and after doing this, simply say add, because this is your array list now.